Mythic! Mythic with a 4 rare deck. Let's go. Yeah! Smashing. Let's go. Hey, it's Mythic Mike. Today we are going to show you the cards in Outlaws of Thunder Junction that are going to crush Control. I know people are complaining about Control. I always think Control is a response to Boros Convoke, and I've already shown the cards that are going to crush Boros Convoke. Check it out if you haven't. But I understand Control is annoying to play against. Don't worry, Wizards has come to our rescue a little bit, and I've made some Outlaws of Thunder Junction bangers. They're going to put Control in its place. We're going to play our creatures. They're going to not do anything about it, and we're going to crush them. Thanks to these bangers, let's get into it. All right, guys, talk about a counter to Control. This is crazy. 2 mana, white, human cleric, Grand Abolisher mythic. It's not legendary, and it's a 2/2. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. They can't cast spells. They can't counter your stuff. No Wandering Emperor. They can't use, whatever Celestis and things on your turn. Insane. This just will smash Control. Now, look, they can still board wipe you and do things like that and temporary lockdown, but this is going to put them way behind. And if, as you know, they can't have 10 temporary lockdowns, and often they will use a temporary lockdown, and then we'll still have some 2-drops, put some more down. Hopefully they don't have a second one, and if this is in that second spree, good luck, right? What are they going to do? They better have all of the Sunfalls, is what I'm going to say. But this is going to put you in a very nice place against Control, and it's a really good start at just smashing them. Yeah, you add this to some discard effects or like the bats and stuff. Yeah. Because when you play your bat, they can't just kill it. They can't counter it. So we can just do some damage to Control. Sorry, baby. Control is gonna go. Talk about a direct counter to Control. We have a red counter spell. What? So you can play your mono red deck and then bust them open when Control tries to deal with you. So instant uncommon spree, copy target instant spell, sorcery spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's for one more. And for an additional one, or instead of, change the target spell or ability with a single target. So you can fizzle a counter spell, right? Or you can, and then you can also, a Wandering Emperor trigger, you can change the target, kill one of their things, like their incubate token. If they try to draw cards, can we draw cards instead? I don't think so. I don't think it says target player. But, look, removal spells will fizzle. So they're going to have a lot of trouble here. And the fact that red has a counter spell or a pseudo counter spell that in many times is better because we're actually redirecting it at the opponent is going to be good in a variety of decks, but is really going to confuse Control when they think they can kill our stuff and we fizzle it or redirect it onto one of their incubate tokens or their 1/1s they make. So yeah, gonna be sick, guys. All right, so this might be an unexpected one on the anti-control list, but it definitely is should go on it. So Gold Vein Hydra X1 creature Hydra 0/0. It's not legendary. It has Vigilance, Trample, Haste, and it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When it dies, create a number of tapped treasure tokens equal to its power. So kind of a banger. Obviously, you're not getting great value for its cost, although Vigilance and Trample and Haste is pretty nice. They already have the red dragon that kind of does this. And that one's already good against Control because Control relies a lot on board wipe. So a lot of any kind of hasty threats, whether it's skeletons, whether it's my hasty creatures deck, whether it's my modified deck that has a lot of haste threats, especially scalable ones. After a board wipe, you can just play this as a 5/5, right? Do that last 5 damage, gets around Wandering Emperor, can ramp you. Sure, they can deal with the treasures with temporary lockdown, but they don't have 10 of them. And I think it's just very nice. They can't, again, there's only so many of those cards that they kill your thing and give 2 maps. They're really relying on board wipes, and haste threats will do at least 1 smack in before they can deal with it. So yeah, I definitely think this will help. The reason why mono green is so bad, by the way, right now, is because it has nothing hasty. So Control will board wipe them and you're just like done for, right? If it wasn't for that, Mono green would look like, you know, mono could look like a mono red. Mono red does good against control because of all the hasty threats. Now they have a lot smaller ones and things like that, but I think this is a step in the right direction. And I think, being able to play a huge one of this, and if it already died and we made a ton of treasure tokens, we might have another one in our hand and play it as an 8/8, and then they're gonna have to board wipe again, but generally we'll already get in for the 8 damage. Again, Wandering Emperor doesn't even deal with it. And if they do kill it at instant speed, we make even more treasure tokens. Then our next one's a 15/15. So very cool, and I think this will help in Mono Green's matchup against control. All right, guys, we got Requisition Raid, a 1 mana uncommon. We all know Temporary Lockdown's been ruining everyone's fun. So Temporary Lockdown's a 3 mana enchantment that control players play, and it exiles every non-land permanent that is 2 or less. And it exiles it under the enchantment. So it ruins, I love playing a lot of 1-drops and 2-drop creatures, takes them all. It's an easy GG. It hurts the soul. But this card brings us back, gives us some hope. So, it's one of these spree cards, so you pay 1 more to do these things, to destroy an artifact and or destroy an enchantment and or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. The reason this is relevant is if we're not playing control, we can maybe kill these other things. You can pay 4 to kill everything. Maybe someone else will have some of these artifacts or enchantments. But if they don't, we just buff our board for 2 mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on everything. Not bad at all. And if they are control and they do play Temporary Lockdown, we just get our thing back for 2 easy enchantment destruction. And again, it's not dead in your hand if they don't have Temporary Lockdown or an enchantment. So just a sick card, gonna beat up control with these creature decks. All right, we got Aven Interrupter, pretty cool. So 3 mana Flash Flying Bird Rogue. When it enters the battlefield, exile target spell, so it needs to be on the stack. They need to have played the spell. It becomes plotted. And then spells your opponents cast from graveyards or from exile cost 2 more to cast. Memory Deluge, pretty sweet. Cost a ton now on the flashback. So what's cool is plotted cards can only be played on sorcery speed. So if they try to counterspell your thing, you can play this and get rid of the counterspell forever. If they try to remove your thing, they're going to have to do it at sorcery speed next turn. And most importantly, if you're, going to win and they play a Wandering Emperor, now they're going to have to play next turn at sorcery speed. Or if they going to play a board wipe, you just hold your mana up. They have to wait a whole turn for the board wipe to get through. Sunfall turn 6 is way worse. And we're also putting a nice little body on there. So yeah, very sick card. There's a ton of uses for this. And I think getting extra turns and kind of messing up the instant speed spells is going to be sick versus control. All right, I think this is going to be a very nice card versus control, actually. They struggle at killing artifacts, and this is a 2 mana artifact. When it enters, deal 2 damage to any target, including their face, and then 2 and tap, and you sacrifice another artifact, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. So this can be your maps, this can be your treasure tokens you're sacrificing, so things that they don't hit on board wipes that just keep making 3/3s. Look, that's some value they're going to really struggle with. Now, Temporary Lockdown will deal with it, is what it is, but outside of that card, I think this is just a value engine that already does 2 damage to something that will be very nice in those kind of controlling matchups, and they're going to have to keep using a ton of spells to deal with this. I love this card, but guys, Corpses makes 3/2s and gives all your skeletons +1/+0 in haste. Already exist. It's very good against control because you bring it back to your hand. When you descend, you can keep playing them. And look, they have trouble dealing with these tokens over and over again. They temporary lock down your tokens, whatever, we make more. Now, Temporary Lockdown will hit this one, but it goes in that Skeletons deck, and it is a recurrent threat, right? And we can mill to it. We can self-mill to it. But just another skeleton in that kind of recursive deck that will have haste with Corpses, I think, and, the can't block won't matter against control, I think is really going to do some damage. I mean, a 1 mana 2/2, bringing it back for 1 mana if we commit a crime, which is targeting your opponent for any reason, from our graveyard. And if Corpses is down, if 1's down, it's a 3/2 haste. If 2 is down, it's a 4/2 haste. Yeah, this is going to blow some people out. And like I said, Skeletons is already good against control, and this puts it over the top. All right, Collector's Cage, 2 mana artifact. We have a white fight rigging. Um, Again, control's not great at killing artifacts, but hideaway 5. So just like fight rigging, you look at a bunch of cards, here 5, and you get to play one of them for free in the future, and you put it under this card. And then in order to play the card for free, you pay 1, tap it. You can do it on the first turn if you have the mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And then if you control creatures with 3 or more powers, you play the exiled card for free. So I mean, you can put it in a fight rigging deck. You already have big creatures. There's the new unicorn, white, green. That's a 2/2 that makes 3/3 angels. That's 2 of them right there. Put some 0/4s in here, right? 0/4 artifact, so that makes it easier to get to the 3 power. I control struggles not only with artifacts, but also with big explosive strategies like this. I mean, sometimes they can counter it, right? But often they can't, right? And we're just getting so much value from something like this. You can go over the top of control, and this will be a key way in doing so. I think this card is going to pop off. All right, Dust Animus. I'm showing this as an example of the plot. I mean, I think this is a pretty cool card, and it will be good against control, but there's probably other plotted cards that are better. But the plotted mechanic, right? 2 mana, and on this one, and then it gets exiled, and then you can play it at sorcery speed in a future turn for free. And this one's really cool. 2 mana, flying 2/3, which is already fine. It's a rare spirit, and then if you control 5 or more untapped lands, which is only really going to happen if you plot it, and then you wait a little bit, it enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters and a lifelink counter on it. So then it's a 4/5. What's cool about plot is you can just plot a bunch of things, and then, you know, how many counter spells can they have? If you have 2 things plotted and you play a normal card, they're not going to counter all 3 of your things. So, you know, if we're sure they have a counter spell on turn 2, we'll plot this baby, right? And just hold it up, and then we'll go for the bigger value. So plot is really going to mess control up. I'm super pumped about it. I'm not positive this card's going to be good, but if we can get a horse mount deck or something together where we can play caverns so they can't counter this, this is the kind of top end that can kind of blow out a control deck where it has haste, and when it attacks while saddled, choose a non-legendary creature that's saddled at this turn and create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it. Sacrifice the token at the beginning of your next step and repeat the process. So you can make 2 tokens of something you have, get ETBs, get death triggers. It's a haste threat that goes through. You know, big explosive cards like this can smash control open, especially if you can get around the counter spells with the cavern. So definitely worth a mention. You've been following, I love this card. I've been noting it as a banger, but I think it's going to be very nice for its control. 2 mana, instant, target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn and untap it. And then until end of turn, it becomes a copy of one other target creature, which can be your opponent's creature if the control deck plays any of those big guys. But even if they don't, a save on your creature when they're trying to kill it with Wandering Emperor or whatever else, and then also kind of doubling up on your biggest creature, I think is going to go a long way and kind of blow them out in many situations. So I think it's definitely worth a mention here. I'm definitely playing this card in any deck I can fit it in. All right, so I put this in as a counter to Boros Convoke potentially. And look, if you make a control deck around this, it could be very good. I wanted to put this in here just to flag that if we make a deck like a mid-range pile that's kind of around this card, maybe a Boros Angels, honestly, this could slot in, where we really aren't trying to cast more than 1 spell at a turn, especially if we do have some instants so we can get value. This is a 2 mana enchantment. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. And then for 5, you sacrifice it. It deals 5 damage to any target kind of as a finisher. And that's instant speed. What's interesting, I mean, control does like playing multiple cards, right? They do like to draw cards and then, you know, hold something up or remove your thing and I mean, they're trying to do multiple things. The idea that they just want to play 1 card a turn is, you know, sometimes, but often not. I mean, when you attack for the game and you know, with a go wide, and you know they can only play 1 card, I think that does put you in a very nice place. So this is something to consider. I'm not saying it's a direct counter. It actually could be good in a control deck built around it, but it's something to consider that if maybe it can mess up a control deck if you build around it and they haven't. So I'm going to definitely play around with this. I mean, I've been mentioning this card a lot, but this is a 1 mana instant spree. For 3, you untap all creatures, get an additional combat step, or for 3 more. For 2 more, or instead of, creatures get +1/+0 and gain first strike, and for 1, choose target opponent whenever a creature you control deals damage, combat damage to that player, create a tap treasure token so you make a bunch of treasures. I mean, look, this can help you ramp. Control doesn't have blockers. Untap can blow out Wandering Emperor and things like that. And also just another combat phase and or a +1/+0 can surprise control out of nowhere. I mean, they do tap out for memory delusion things, and just blasting through in ways they don't expect at instant speed gonna create troubles for them. There are a few of these, but you know, these 1 mana instant, and you know, for 1 more you untap all creatures, and for 1 more target creature gains double strike, can kind of kill control out of nowhere. I mean, this shuts off a Wandering Emperor, right? Because you can untap a creature they're thinking of targeting, or untap all your creatures, and then they can't even hit your creature. So I think there's a lot of cool things here, and I think it will mess up a lot of control's normal strategies. So, you know, super sick. I mean, there are some like kill tapped creature things too. And I mean, just fizzling those while giving double strike to your creature, it's going to put control in a tough spot. This is interesting because it can go in control decks, but also there's probably some cool creature strategies to do here. 4 mana Sphinx, and it has flash and flying, and has hexproof as long as you haven't cast a spell. So the play pattern is you cast at the end of your opponent's turn, you get a 5/3 flyer, and then it has hexproof forever. So obviously that's good against control. And I mean, by the way, you can name Sphinx potentially, but on your cavern. But it's good against control because they can't target it. It's going to cause a lot of troubles. A 5/3 flyer will kill them rather fast. Now they can still board wipe it, but we are playing blue here, so hopefully we'll have some counter spells. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of cool ways you can probably build a really cool flyer deck and play this with some flash guys. There's already the flash white and blue flyer where all your creatures have flash with flying. I think you could do some very cool creature heavy decks here, and then it's just going to be really tough for them to deal with this card. Obviously, you know, Sunfall will still deal with it. We can hold up counters, and look, they rely on a lot more than Sunfall. There's only 4 Sunfalls. And they can try to do some other stuff, but we have a lot of new tricks giving things indestructible as well. So yeah, I think this is a banger, and I do think there's some cool build-arounds that you can play in mid-range or creature flying decks that will actually put control in a tough spot. I know I already mentioned plot, but I mean, one of the plot cards that's going to bust everything open, including control, is this one, right? Flying Haste, 1/2. And when you cast a non-creature spell, you get +2/+0, so super prowess, and you can plot it for 2. So the thing is, in these kind of turn 3 kill decks where you're very explosive, you don't want to lose some of these things to counter spells, but we'll just plot on turn 2. If we know they have a counter spell open, we'll wait till they eventually have to play mana, and then we'll play our plotted thing, assuming there's a way to do that at sorcery speed, and hopefully kill them in 1 turn and just play all our spells. So the addition of plot, especially on an explosive card like this, makes control, you know, suffer. Because again, we don't have to play out our guy here. We plot it. You can't counter a plot, and we're still going to bring it out later, and then you're going to have to choose what to counter. So pretty epic. All right, well, if you didn't see your card there, let me know in the comments. There are a bunch of new strategies against control. And like I mentioned, Boros Convoke, check out this video if you haven't, about the cards to smash Boros Convoke. Yeah, guys, it's going to be sick. I make a unique deck a day. Remember to like and subscribe. Let's go, baby.